Mr. Chairman, your meeting is live.
Call the Senate Appropriations Committee to order Thursday, February 9th. The first order of business is roll call.
Vice Chairman Anderson,
Here.
Senator Guru,
Here.
Senator Nethercott,
Excuse.
Senator Salzar, and Chairman Kinski is.
First order of business.
Bill, HB 93, and I think we have some people here interested in presenting this. So, does anyone want to come forward? Go ahead and identify yourself, turn on your microphone and get close to it because some older people over here can't hear very well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Miss Jason Mead with the Water Development Office. You should have a blue 3-ring binder in front of you. I'll familiarize you with that real quick.
Are we going to go through all of it, Jason?
Yeah, we're going to take the whole time here.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, we'll be quick. So inside the front cover, you have a blue sheet. That's a summary sheet of the bill itself. This is just like the planning bill and how we had it laid out. Under tab A, we have just a short description of our program. Tab B are the budget balances for each account available for appropriation before this bill. And then when we get into tab C and throughout the rest of the binder are just project recommendations and more detail about different projects if you're interested. So get back to the summary sheet. And I should say that the bill is right behind that blue summary sheet inside the front cover, along with an amendment that was brought through Senate Agriculture the other night. So again, looking at the blue sheet, I'll try to just stick to the appropriations and not a lot of detail about individual projects. But if you look in that first block of projects there on the top left, these are our construction projects, being the construction bill. And this is for new development account 1. So in that first block, we have 5 projects that equate to $1,955,060. The second block of projects, we have 7, and these are construction projects in account 2 rehabilitation. That total dollar amount for that section is $9,368,240. And then that third block of projects, which would be section 2 of the bill, is where our amendments show up. And as you guys are probably aware, with inflation and supply chain issues over the years, that a lot of construction project costs have gone up. So we have a number of project amendments on existing construction projects. There's 18 of them. And then we also have some funding going into our sponsor contingency funds for account 1 and account 2, in addition to our small water projects program. So, and for a total of amendments out of account 1, the total would be $8,869,880. And the total for account 2 is $3,020,910. I should mention, we had more applications and requests out of our rehab account than we could cover. So in past years, and again this year, we've transferred funding from account 1 to account 2 to help address those requests. So that second block of projects, you'll notice it says C note 1 in the far right column. So those projects are contingent upon the approval of a transfer of $11.2 million from account 1 to account 2. And that then is shown in the bill in section 3 of the bill. So if you keep going down that summary sheet, near the bottom, you'll see on the left-hand side there, you'll see section 3, transfer of funds, 11.2 million. So that's what that is a transfer of funds from account 1 to account 2. Section 4 of the bill.
Jason,
Yes.
you need approval from us to transfer from 1 to 2. Is that what you're saying?
We have done that in the past. We've asked for approval from the legislature on those things in the construction bill. Yes.
Question here.
Yeah, if you look at line bill page 37, line 37 on this blue thing. The Riverton Valley Irrigation District Rehabilitation. Number 37,
Mhm.
that first page. It's on the blue.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me something about that? Is that, there's nothing going on or there is something going on?
Yeah, so this is an existing project, I believe from 2019. And it's for the design and construction of a pumping station and transmission pipeline. And again, due to a lot of the issues I've mentioned, and easement issues on top of that, but really supply chain, COVID, increase in costs. They've asked for an additional roughly $2.8 million in a 2-year time extension to complete the project. And what our recommendation for is for the time extension only. And this gets back to additional funds going into our sponsors contingency fund. So the projects that were shovel ready, more or less had our readiness to bid kind of stamp of approval back in September. We went ahead and funded those, but the projects that were still not quite there and they needed easements or to finish design, what we told them is we're going to put additional funds into our sponsor contingency account. And then when you're ready to move forward with bidding, come back to the Water Development Commission and ask for approval for some of those funds. So it gives incentive to the other projects instead of tying up money
Right.
when they might not be ready.
Follow up? Mr. Chairman, follow up?
Yes, follow up. please.
So currently that project then isn't receiving the additional funds to complete it because they haven't got everything prepared yet for the actual. Is that right? Or
Mr. Chairman, that's correct. But as soon as they are ready, they'll have the opportunity to come back to the Water Development Commission and the Select Water Committee. You know, let's say it's in June of 2023. That contingency fund is set up in a way where it's the funding is appropriated by the legislature. And that allows the commission and the Select Water Committee to react to situations where you might get bids in and they come in high, or there's a change order during a construction project. And we don't have to stop the project and wait for the next session to come all the way back around to get approval to add some additional funds to those projects. So this particular project can come back to the commission between now and next session. It wouldn't have to wait until next year.
and then my final question is, do you oversee this irrigation district, this Riverton Valley Irrigation District? Do you oversee who verifies that everything is kosher and going well or are you simply supplying the funding for specific projects?
Mr. Chairman, I apologize. I was looking at the Green River Rock Springs Joint Powers Board project when you threw out that line 37. So you're talking about Riverton Valley Irrigation District. I apologize. They're overseen by their own board. We just provide funding. They're a public entity, legal public entity in the state of Wyoming.
Okay,
So
so
they would apply to our
again,
program.
give me what's going on there then.
Well, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Maybe I can help a little bit. Yeah, the project itself is in the book, but the process that they go through is when the district comes years before to start this project, it goes to the Water Commission. The Water Commission vets the project through planning stages from the very beginning and starts allocating money to planning stages and then on through construction. Those recommendations are made to Select Water Committee, of which Senator Steinman's on, I'm on.
Okay.
And then we approve that. And so it all goes through a 2-step or a 3-step process. The staff, the commission, and then the electeds on the Select Water, in addition to what the board itself does to prepare to get everything
Okay.
ready. So it goes through quite a rigorous
Okay.
rigorous
Take it.
process before it gets to funding. But I do have a question, just to take that specific one, that the Riverton project.
Yeah.
What's the total cost?
Total cost is 2.17 million. And that one, Senator Salazar is held up because they're waiting some permits to complete that project. It's a rehabilitation of the damaged Wyoming Central Canal number 2. And I think they have the funding they need. They're just asking for a time extension on the funding so it doesn't revert on them for 2 additional years.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
so since I've got you here, I've been getting phone calls from constituents about flooding in that area. And they've been trying to work with this irrigation district in Riverton, and there's been, I guess, some friction or tension. Have you heard of anything like that?
Mr. Chairman, I would maybe refer to our construction department deputy director, and I have not personally heard anything about that. And I'm not sure if
Chairman, committee members, Bill Brewer, Deputy Director, Construction for Water Development. This project initially started because of a storm event that flooded and that canal was blown out during that storm event. Most of the repair work has been being done by the federal government. We are the, and I can't remember which one it is a FEMA grant. So FEMA is paying 75% to repair this project. The Water Development Commission is paying 25% to repair the project. So this project was related to a flood event that occurred back in, I believe, early 18, late 17. And they rebuilt the canal and did some stabilization on the river. So this particular project is dealing with a flood issue, but I don't know of other flooding issues related to this district.
I've taken enough time. We can talk offline. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks for all of the good questions. I did just want to, while we have a minute, talk a little bit about how things are organized. So, for example, what you're talking about, that's a local irrigation district issue. And in order to receive funding, this is a funding mechanism for them to keep their aging irrigation infrastructure up, deal with emergencies like you're talking about, all of that. It's not a regulatory agency. So that would be more, the irrigation district itself and the state engineer. And also districts have to be a formed district with a governing board to make sure there's representation and all of that. It can't just be an association or a group like that. Any group that comes to water development, it has to be an organized local, as subsidiary of state government, basically a political subdivision.
Thank you. Thank you. Jason, you have more, I'm assuming.
Mr. Chairman, just a little bit more. Again, referring back to the summary sheet, if you look down in that lower left-hand corner, you see something that says Section 4, Transfer of Funds, 30 million. And Mr. Chairman, this was an amendment brought by the Select Water Committee to the draft bill where they're looking to bring some funds over from the general fund to account 3, which is our dam and reservoir account. You may have heard some discussion about this already. That fund, the available amount for appropriation is down to less than $7 million. And historically, that account was created in 2005 with an influx of funds from account 1 and also the budget reserve account. And as we've gotten closer to building some of these reservoir projects, those funds have been appropriated to those specific projects. So it's diminished quite a bit. And that's just, I think, an effort from the Select Water Committee and other legislators to try to replenish that fund for future reservoirs that are coming up here in the next year and following years after that. So, and I believe the other night through Senate Agriculture that was amended, and that amendment is right after the blue sheet here, changing that from 30 million to 75 million from the general fund to account 3. And then the last thing I would mention in regards to appropriations would be similar in Senate Agriculture the other night. There was an amendment brought to remove the Board of Control funding through the state engineer's office from account 1 and put it back on the general fund. So historically, Board of Control, which are hydrographers and superintendents throughout the state that regulate water based on Wyoming water law from time first and right, when ditches get short, they're the ones that go out and turn the head gates down, right? So seniors can get their water. Historically, that's been funded through the general fund, the Board of Control budget. And during times of when revenue has been short, really between the late or early 90s to early 2000s, and then again here in the last 5 years or so. So about 15 years over the past 120 years since the Constitution has been put together and Board of Control has been put together. There's been some times where it's been funded out of account 1. And then those years, that's equated to about $93 million in those 15 years or so. And what that really does is account one is where we fund a lot of our municipal projects. And it gets roughly $19.3 million from the mineral severance distribution account every year. And by the time you take out our office's budget, then the Board of Control's budget, which is between $7.5 million, and then other things like drinking water, state revolving fund, capitalization grant match of 10% comes out of water account one and some other things. It only really leaves about $6 million in account one for projects every year. And then you add that to what we have in account two, typically from severance distribution is about 3.3, and then about 775,000 for account three, our dams and reservoirs. So you add that all up in a given year, and we only have about $10 million to spend on water projects at this point. And for instance, this year we had roughly $60 million worth of requests. So our ability to get projects done has dwindled over the years because of the administrative costs that come out of account one, a large one being the Board of Control. So Senate Agriculture the other night amended the bill to again remove Board of Control from account one and put that budget back into the general fund under the state engineer's office. And really, I think that's about it. Would be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Yes. Senator.
And the total, Director, on that is how much that we're moving over from the Board of Control?
Mr. Chairman, from the amendment the other night, it would be $7,129,414 or $413.
Okay.
And that would be for fiscal year 24. And then of course, the fiscal bienniums in the future would probably be slightly different than that.
And is that on that amendment that we have on our?
Yeah, it's line 11. On the general.
Line 11
on
is
the general
75
fund.
million.
Oh, on the,
Which one are you looking?
I'm looking. Well, I'm looking at another amendment, sorry. Sorry. Oh, no. Here it is. Oh, it's on the
I'm
amendment that
looking
you're
at-
looking at, it's line 28.
01 in gross copy.
Yeah,
Is it on there? The 7 million
line 28.
that we moved? 28?
28, 7, one in
Oh,
red.
yeah, okay.
7.
So we're moving that to general fund. So that'll give you 7 million more to spend on water?
Mr. Chairman, that'd be correct.
Not, Mr. Chairman, not unlike what you and I talk about quite often with the highway department account. By moving this over, it puts more water money to water. So let the money do its job. And I think it's a good way. I understand why in short times they've done it, but I think it's a fair way to do it.
That 10 million, is that pretty typical going into water one, or is that low? Do we have 30 million sometimes or 50?
Mr. Chairman, the transfer from account one to account two. It's actually pretty high because of all the amendments this year. In years past, and we've done this, I would say 2 or 3 times. It's been a little lower than that. I remember a number of 7 million one year. Can't remember in the other year, but because of all the amendments and a lot of those amendments being towards agricultural type projects that would normally be funded out of account two, it's a little higher than I would expect this year compared to normal.
Are you short every year for water projects?
Mr. Chairman, we've been able to get by. This year, for example, we've had to tell a lot of our municipal projects, because they're bigger dollar, a lot of times millions of dollars per project, that, hey, we will fund design this year, come back next year when you're ready, and we'll try to fund construction next year. So we've had to phase things over several years. But again, that trend, as we move forward, the severance tax distribution started, I think, in there like 2000, 2001, and it's been capped. Our percentages for each account come from $155 million capped severance account. And that percentage and the dollar amount has not changed. So, but as we know, inflation and the cost to construct projects continues to go up every year, and especially in this last couple of years. So I guess our spending ability and that dollar value has really decreased, and the costs of projects have gone up. So we can't get as much done as we used to be able to.
Well, it's amazing how many agencies we hear that from. How they have more requests than they have funds for. Any other questions for Jason? Other questions? I have one more question. We have a water line from Casper to Midwest that has some corrosion problems or something. Have we funded that or is that taken care of? I notice it isn't in here, but.
Mr. Chairman, I believe you're, what's the name of the project? Salt Creek
Yeah,
project. That one, actually went for funding through the ARPA direct funding. And the first round through the water and sewer money, it did not get funded. However, if the $39.3 million is added to the water and sewer from the ARP-D, if you guys are privy to all that, I believe it ranked high enough through the OSLI process, Office of State Lands and Investments, that it would probably get funded in the second round, because I believe the intent of the SLIB board and the legislature would be to continue forward with the existing applications, not take new applications, and just see how much further down the list they can get. So either through that, or I can't remember if they put in for the local government pool of money. So there's some potential there too. So it looks like, assuming everything would move forward with the ARPA funding and the water sewer projects, that it probably get funded through ARPA.
I think that those two little communities up there are about to get cut off of water if they don't get that water line fixed.
Mr. Chairman, I agree.
Kind of a big deal for them.
Yeah. And Bill Brewer just mentioned that we have funded 67% of that in previous construction bills. So the Water Development Office does have funding in that currently.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Other questions? Nope. Thank you, Jason. Thank you for your time. And thank you, Bill. Thank you. Sherry, anything else to add to this?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just that, I wanted to bring your attention back to the amendment we made in Senate Ag. And the reason for that amendment, that was actually the state engineer's office funding was actually in the planning bill. And so we just wanted to put a belt and suspenders on that and make sure that the Senate position is held and that the select water position is held, and that we see that go back onto the general fund. And I would answer any other questions you might have about that amendment or about the bill.
And so Sherry, is there just this one amendment? Standing Committee Amendment number 1 is all we're talking about, the corrected copy or engrossed copy, excuse me.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it was just one big amendment we did and that was just in reaction to some of the issues we'd seen coming from the other side, so.
Questions for Sherry? Questions for Sherry?
Chairman,
Yes.
just a comment, as you look at that, if you take a look at Senator Steinmetz or the Water Committee's amendment. If you look down to line 25, administration, and you go all the way across, this is once again that Board of Control. You'll see a number 49,906 S1 out of their own funds. As we move that department off of out of water and to the state engineer's office and the general fund, what we wanted to do, and I'll have an amendment for it, is to just cut that number in half to 24,953 out of the same S1 account. So all that does is it funds for 1 year administrative costs out of water, and then the next year it'll revert over to the state engineer's office. Did I say that right?
That's correct.
Every nodding
That,
heads.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, that's just a little cleanup from the amendment we made. This will make it identical to how the bill left the Senate in the planning bill. And so that's a very friendly amendment.
Yeah, it was just left out of the amendment. When this was. It was in our original.
Sounds like that board, maybe we need to drown that board.
Oh. Yeah, and if you, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, if you read down to line 48, it says, It is the intent of the legislature that funds appropriated to the state engineer for the Border Control Division shall be made from the general fund in the 25-26 fiscal biennium and subsequent fiscal biennium. And so that's the money part, the 7 million is there on the one side, but this was just a staff amount that just was a catch that didn't get made there on the administrative level. So there it's kind of restated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, the state engineer's office is here if you'd like to hear from them on anything. Our good state engineer is here.
Sure. We'll always want to hear from the state engineer.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Brandon Gebhardt, State Engineer. And I really appreciate the conversation. But one suggestion to what we're talking about. What I want to be careful of is that the number you cut in half, that gets moved to the general fund. I didn't hear that in the discussion. So you're taking it from S1 and moving it to general fund. Not just cutting it in half because that would cut our funding. I think the intent of what you're saying is to move it to. So the second half of this biennium, the current biennium.
Right.
Is my understanding that your discussion is to take the remaining budget from the administration line and move that to general fund.
Yes.
Okay.
Through the state engineer's office, but from the general fund to your office.
From S1 to the general fund.
Right. That's the difference.
Yeah, and that's for future years, but I was afraid that would just cut the next year's budget with that. It needs to come to that.
Mr. Chairman, I believe if you look in that second column where there's a strikeout of 1,796,136 and it's changed to 1,821,089. I think the difference is that 24,953 or 954. So it's being added back into that number, which would be the general fund.
And that's, I was just making sure that was the intent of the discussion.
That's the intent.
Thank you.
Did we get that fixed for you, Mr. Engineer?
Mr. Chairman, I believe so. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
One follow-up, but
Okay.
So Senator Steinmetz, would it be better to treat that separately, or can we just amend your committee amendment to reflect that? What's the way you want to do it?
Senator Steinmetz.
Mr. Chairman, I think you have to do that separately as an amendment from the Appropriations Committee. I don't believe you can amend our amendment.
Well, already then. You want to do that?
Okay, anything else, Sherry? No. Okay. Anything else, agencies? Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Anything else from the public? Anybody online?
No, sir.
No Zoom, no room. We'll close public comment. Committee, what's your pleasure?
Move the bill.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion? So we don't have to move this standing committee amendment. It's already been moved.
already
It's
done.
already in. All we have to do is fix it.
Right.
Right. So you
Which
got an amendment to do that?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
I do. I would like to move committee or Appropriations Committee Amendment number 1 to House Bill. What is the number?
93.
90.
Do you have that written now or are you?
I do.
Oh, you do?
I do. It actually,
Do we have it?
No.
Oh,
because
maybe we could have it
I
before.
scribbled on it.
bef-
You have a couple more? That'd be great.
Oh, sure. He has them. Oh,
When I wrote on it, I wrote it with the,
sure. Jason has them, but no. Do we have them? No. Okay. Yes.
if I
Go
can,
ahead.
now, if you take it now, armed with a piece of paper. If you look down now, just below line 7 on that far side, other funds. And you see 49 crossed out and 24,953. That's what this whole discussion was about. That's the change, just $24,000.
And that's your amendment?
Yes, so I
To
move
change
that
that-
amendment, yes.
Change that to 24,929.
24,000.
Or
Just
24,000, excuse me.
Not 24 million.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor of the amendment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That amendment has squeaked by the Senate Appropriations Committee. Now we're ready to vote on the bill on or House Bill 93 as amended. As amended. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Nope, hearing none. Let's do a roll call.
Senator Guru,
Aye.
Senator Salzar, and Vice Chairman Anderson.
Aye.
3 do pass amended on House Bill 93.
All right. All right. We've passed that, and I'm assuming, Sherry, you're going to carry this on the floor? Ag Committee will. Yeah, okay. And then our amendment, you're going to carry? Or who's going to do it? It'll be a committee of the whole, or it'll be our standing committee amendment, I think. We'll have ours. So, okay. All right. Sounds good. Do we get to keep these books? Wow. Oh, no, I want to keep it and I want to refer to J every once in a while. O and stuff. Yeah. Wow. All right. Anything else come for the Senate Appropriations Committee? We had one bill we laid back, but I think Senator Kinski wants to work on it. So we'll lay it back again to